With politics and bring in our MiWeek contributors, Nolan Finley of the Detroit News, Stephen Henderson of WDET and American Black Journal. Hey guys, there was not a lot of news coming out this week, coming out of Washington, right? I mean,
Until yesterday.
It's one of those things that I was kept flipping around, watching everything, and I had my Twitter feed going as well. And it was really quite a sight to see, but it made me step back and think, okay, is this going to have, or what kind of impact will this have on a Trump presidency, but B, what kind of impact will it have on midterm elections with a lot of Republicans who are running really with President Trump? I'm going to start with you, Nolan.
You know, I think there's been so much of this. It's been a steady stream. I think it's getting harder and harder for the public, for voters to decide what's a real scandal and what's not a real scandal. I mean, this one's a little more, I think this one doesn't play as big out in the, among voters as it does in the media. You looked at the headlines coming out of this, you'd have think Trump had been indicted. It was like, oh, the net tightens. Oh, this threatens and perils his presidency. I'm not so sure. Nothing in the whole Manafort connections or convictions connect to Trump. And on the Michael Cohen plea, you do have the pleading guilty to a campaign finance violation, but that's not cut and dried either, because campaign finance violations are generally civil infractions unless they can prove that he willfully, knowingly violated the law.
Right, but he did say in court that the president or the candidate directed me to pay off two people to hide.
But does that meet the test?
A relationship
that they knew this would violate the law? It depends, and plus, we don't even know if it was campaign money that was used. Cohen says it was. We haven't heard from Trump on that issue. There's a whole lot of his word against the president's word involved here. I don't think they have any concrete proof this was campaign money.
But I think what was really interesting, though, is the squeeze is possibly on here. So now if you have Cohen, who's pled guilty, you have Manafort, who was found guilty, and that maybe that there's more impetus on them to possibly give up some more information, if necessary, if they have it, if it's out there.
So as with all things with Trump, follow the tweets. The president tweeting this morning, basically sidling up to Paul Manafort to call him a hero, right, for weathering this and not squealing on him. He's worried because if Manafort talks, if Manafort cooperates, then you have his former campaign manager, you have his personal lawyer, both cooperating with authorities, looking into his activities during the 2016 campaign. There's no scenario under which you're not in peril when those two things are happening. The question is, what is the truth? What actually happened, and what was the president's role? And they'll get to that, I think, pretty quickly, because I think Michael Cohen is going to lead them there. But here's the other thing.
Michael Cohen as if he's a credible witness. This is a guy trying to save his own fanny. And so,
as all witnesses, all government witnesses
they've had him under a vice, under a squeeze, and this is the best they could come up with. Same with Manafort. Well, Manafort's best hope now is a Trump pardon. I doubt he'll be doing anything to jeopardize.
I think that would be a risky thing, too.
Here's the risk that the president has, is that we're getting closer to the idea that he broke the law in the process of becoming the president. And that actually raises a really interesting legal question, right? The impeachment clauses of the Constitution don't speak to whether you can be impeached for things you did before you were president. At the same time, the law generally treats you, if you get something illegally, the punishment for that is that you get stripped of it. I talked to Barb McQuaid this morning about it, and she said, for instance, people who come here illegally, right? If they gain citizenship illegally and it's discovered that they do it, they are stripped of that citizenship as part of the punishment. That's where we're headed with this conversation, and the question is whether the Congress will do that or deal with that. They probably won't. there's also a question of whether Mueller will just indict the president. I don't think he'll do that either.
Let me steer it this way a little bit, though, because we can debate the merits of the case and where it can kind of go from here. But I want to know about the perception of this news and that there's possible peril for the president. What do Republicans do at this point, Nolan, when you're going into now coming out of Labor Day in a couple of weeks, where campaigns for the midterm elections really start up? How do you position yourself as a Republican with this news coming out?
It would have been a bigger problem for Republicans in the primary, I think. Now they've got to move to the middle anyway. They've got to sort of drift a little bit away from Donald Trump. I think they say we've got to watch the process here. At this point, no charges have been leveled against the president. No credible allegations have been leveled against the president. They don't put themselves too far out on the line in defending him. But I don't think it's imperative that they run away from him either.
So let's bring it even closer to home and looking at the governor's race. So Bill Schuette, again, who has said, the president endorses me, he's very much the president's guy. Does he look at news like this week and take a step a little bit away, or does he just kind of put his head down?
I think he's in that same place. We talked about his challenge was the same today as it was a week ago. He's got to get to the middle and appeal to independents. He already has the Trump supporters. He's got to go to the independents, and you get to them with local issues. I mean, he's got to contrast his policies and his ideas for continuing Michigan's comeback against Gretchen Whitmer's. That has nothing to do with Donald Trump.